On December 2, 1993, a barefoot man in jeans and a blue sweater scrambled across a terracotta rooftop in Medellín, Colombia. He was trying to escape. Behind him, Colombian special forces were closing in. The man was Pablo Escobar, the most wanted criminal on earth. For 16 months, 600 soldiers had hunted him. The United States had sent Delta Force advisors. The CIA had provided surveillance equipment. A vigilante death squad called Los Pepes had murdered over 300 of his associates, and still, he had evaded them all, until today. A phone call to his son, just seconds too long, had betrayed his location. Bullets struck his torso, his legs, his feet, then one final shot through the ear. Pablo Escobar, the king of cocaine, was dead at 44, one day after his birthday. Within hours, Colombian police posed for photographs with his body, grinning as they stood over the corpse of the man who had terrorized their country for a decade. The images circled the globe. But here's what made Pablo Escobar different from every other drug lord in history. At his peak, he was worth $30 billion. Forbes magazine listed him as the 7th richest person on earth, alongside oil sheikhs and tech billionaires. He controlled 80% of the world's cocaine supply. He owned a private zoo with elephants and hippos. He burned $2 million in cash just to keep his daughter warm during one night in hiding. And 25,000 people attended his funeral. Many wept. Some called him a saint. This is the story of how a poor kid from the Colombian countryside became the richest criminal in history, and how it all ended on a rooftop in Medellín. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria was born on December 1, 1949 in Rio Negro, a small town near Medellín. His father was a farmer. His mother was a schoolteacher. They were poor but not destitute. By his teens, Pablo was already hustling. He sold contraband cigarettes. He faked lottery tickets. He stole cars and sold them for parts. He robbed tombstones. From cemeteries, sandblasted the names off and resold them. He was ambitious, ruthless, and utterly without moral limits. In the early 1970s, cocaine was beginning to flow north to the United States. Pablo saw opportunity. He started as a courier, smuggling small amounts. Within a few years, he had built his own operation. In 1976, at age 27, Pablo Escobar founded what would become the Medellín cartel. The cartel's business model was simple. Buy coca paste from Peru and Bolivia, refine it into cocaine in Colombian jungle labs, then smuggle it into the United States. The profits were staggering. By the early 1980s, the Medellín cartel was shipping 70 to 80 tons of cocaine into the U.S. every month. At its peak, the cartel controlled 80% of the American cocaine market. They were earning an estimated $420 million per week. Cash came in so fast that Escobar spent thousands of dollars a month just on rubber bands to wrap the bills. He buried money in fields, hid it in walls, stored it in warehouses. His accountants estimated they lost 10% of their cash each year, roughly $2 billion, to water damage, rats, and simple rot. In 1987, Forbes magazine put Pablo Escobar on its list of international billionaires. He remained on the list for 7 consecutive years. At his wealthiest, his net worth was estimated at $30 billion, making him one of the richest people on the planet. He bought a Learjet solely for transporting cash. He purchased hundreds of properties across Colombia, including a 7,000-acre estate called Hacienda Nápoles. The estate had its own private zoo, with elephants, giraffes, hippos, and exotic birds. Today, those hippos have multiplied and become an invasive species. Descendants of Pablo Escobar's pets still roam the Colombian countryside. But Escobar wanted more than wealth. He wanted power. He wanted legitimacy. He wanted to be loved. In 1982, Pablo Escobar was elected as an alternate member of Colombia's Congress. He campaigned as a man of the people, building soccer fields, funding housing projects, donating to schools and hospitals. In the slums of Medellín, he was called El Padrino, the Godfather. Poor families hung his picture in their homes like a patron saint. He wanted to be president. Some believed he could have been. But Colombia's Minister of Justice, Rodrigo Lara Bonilla, exposed Escobar's drug trafficking in Congress. He was stripped of his seat and banned from politics. His dreams of legitimate power were over. Escobar's response was war. Over the next decade, the Medellín cartel waged a campaign of terror against the Colombian state. The violence was apocalyptic. They assassinated Rodrigo Lara Bonilla in 1984. They bombed the offices of El Espectador, the newspaper that had exposed them. They murdered journalists, judges, police officers, anyone who stood against them. They placed bounties on police, $1,000 for every dead officer, $3,000 for every dead detective. In 1985, M-19 guerrillas, funded by Escobar, stormed Colombia's Palace of Justice and took the entire Supreme Court hostage. When the army retook the building, 98 people were dead, including 11 Supreme Court justices. The building's records on extradition cases, Escobar's greatest fear, were conveniently destroyed in the fire. In 1989, Escobar's men bombed Avianca Flight 203, killing all 107 people aboard. The target was a presidential candidate who supported extradition. He wasn't even on the plane. That same year, a truck bomb exploded outside the DAS building, Colombia's FBI equivalent, killing 63 and wounding over 600. Between 1989 and 1993, Escobar's organization was responsible for the deaths of roughly 4,000 people, including 500 police officers. His motto was simple: plata o plomo, silver or lead, take the bribe or take the bullet. By 1991, Colombia was exhausted. The government offered Escobar a deal: surrender, serve a maximum of 5 years, and never be extradited to the United States. Escobar agreed, with conditions. He would design his own prison. The result was La Catedral, a compound high in the mountains above Medellín. It was called Club Medellín, or Hotel Escobar. The prison featured a soccer field, a jacuzzi, a casino, a disco, a waterfall, and bedrooms with rotating circular beds. Escobar chose his own guards. He received over 300 unauthorized visitors. He continued running the cartel from inside the walls. Before Colombia's 1994 World Cup qualifying campaign, all 22 players of the Colombian national team came to La Catedral and played a friendly match on Escobar's private pitch. The guards served drinks. It was a farce. The most powerful drug lord in the world was imprisoned in a luxury resort he had built himself. In July 1992, Escobar summoned 2 of his lieutenants, Fernando Galeano and Gerardo Moncada,
piscina,
to La
quadra de
Catedral.
tênis e campo de
He accused
futebol,
them of
que ele
skimming
usava
money.
também de
He
helicóptero.
killed one with a pool cue. The other
Mas em
was
1993 o imóvel foi bombardeado pelo grupo Los Pepes e hoje virou
The
ponto
murders could not be ignored.
Porém, o imóvel ainda é pouco
When the
divulgado e
Colombian
o único meio
government
de
learned
acesso
what had
é de
happened,
barco.
they ordered Escobar transferred to a real prison, but Escobar had prepared for this. During construction, he had built an escape route into the wall, a section mortared with deliberately weak concrete that could be kicked open from inside. On July 22, 1992, with army trucks surrounding La Catedral, Pablo Escobar walked out through his secret exit and vanished into the Colombian night. He would spend the next 16 months as the most hunted man on earth. The search for Pablo Escobar became one of the largest manhunts in history. The Colombian government deployed Search Block, a 600-man special operations unit trained by U.S. Delta Force and Navy SEALs. The CIA provided electronic surveillance equipment. The DEA coordinated intelligence. At the same time, a vigilante group emerged, Los Pepes, people persecuted by Pablo Escobar. Made up of Escobar's enemies, rival cartels, and former associates, Los Pepes conducted a parallel campaign of terror against the Medellín cartel. Over 16 months, Los Pepes killed more than 300 of Escobar's associates, lawyers, family members, and anyone connected to him. They burned his properties, destroyed his assets, and hunted his organization to extinction. There were credible allegations that Searchblock and even American intelligence agencies shared information with Los Pepes. Escobar was on the run. He never slept in the same place twice. He never talked on the phone for more than 2 minutes. His empire was crumbling. His money was running out. His allies were dead or turned against him. In one desperate moment, hiding in the cold mountains with his family, he burned $2 million in cash just to keep his daughter warm. On December 1st, 1993, Pablo Escobar celebrated his 44th birthday. He was with his last bodyguard, Álvaro de Jesús Agudelo, known as El Limón, and a handful of family members. They ate cake. They tried to have a normal celebration. The next day, Escobar made a phone call to his son, Juan Pablo. He wanted to reassure him. He wanted to hear his voice. The call lasted too long. Colombian electronic surveillance teams, using equipment provided by the United States, traced the signal to a middle-class neighborhood in Medellín called Los Olivos. Within minutes, Searchblock had surrounded the building. Escobar and El Limón fled out a window onto the rooftop. They were barefoot. They ran across the terracotta tiles as bullets flew. El Limón was hit first. He fell from the roof and died on the street below. Escobar kept running, but there was nowhere to go. Bullets struck him in the torso, in the legs, in the feet. Then a final shot through the ear. Who fired the killing shot remains disputed. The Colombian police claimed credit. Some said it was a sniper from Los Pepes. Others, including his family, insist Escobar shot himself. Better a grave in Colombia than a prison in the United States had always been his motto. His body was photographed where it fell, on the rooftop, belly down, his face bloodied, his infamous mustache visible. Colombian police stood over him, grinning, flashing thumbs-up signs. The king of cocaine was dead. Pablo Escobar's funeral drew over 25,000 mourners. People wept in the streets. They threw themselves on his coffin. They called him a saint. He built houses and cared about the poor. One mourner told the New York Times, "In the future, people will go to his tomb to pray the way they would to a saint." His grave at Monte Sacro Cemetery in Medellín still attracts visitors today. Some leave flowers, some leave cocaine, some pray. But his family's story was just beginning. After Escobar's death, his wife Maria Victoria and their 2 children fled Colombia. They went first to Mozambique, then settled in Argentina under assumed identities. His son, Juan Pablo, 16 years old when his father died, initially vowed revenge. He appeared on Colombian television threatening those responsible for his father's death, but he chose a different path. He changed his name to Sebastián Marroquín, studied architecture, and built a new life in Buenos Aires. In 2009, he appeared in a documentary called Sins of My Father, in which he met with the sons of men his father had ordered killed and asked for forgiveness. "I want the violence to stop," he said, "not just for me, but for Colombia." He wrote a book, Pablo Escobar, My Father, which provided an unflinching account of growing up with a loving father who was also a mass murderer. Today, at 48, Sebastián Marroquín lives quietly in Argentina with his wife and son. He refuses to profit from his father's crimes. His sister, Manuela, was 9 years old when her father died. She lives under an assumed name and has largely stayed out of public view. She reportedly struggles with the trauma of her childhood, a childhood that included a father who once glued a horn to a horse because she asked for a unicorn. As for the fortune, the $30 billion, most of it was never found. Billions remain buried in fields, hidden in walls, or simply lost. Escobar's nephew discovered $18 million in a hidden compartment of a family home in 2020. The bills had rotted and were worthless. Treasure hunters still search for Pablo Escobar's money. Most find nothing but disappointment. The Medellín cartel collapsed after Escobar's death. The rival Cali cartel briefly dominated the cocaine trade before they too were dismantled. Today, Medellín is a transformed city, home to tech startups, art museums, and cable cars connecting hillside neighborhoods. The violence of the Escobar era is history. But the cocaine trade continues. New cartels emerged. Mexican organizations now dominate. The demand never stopped. Pablo Escobar killed roughly 4,000 people. He bombed planes, assassinated judges, murdered journalists, and corrupted an entire nation. He was a terrorist, a mass
We have roulettes and a lot of games for them. It was a very modern prison.
He was also a father
It wasn't a
who
prison
burned
at all.
money to keep his daughter
Like
warm.
a five-star
neighbor
hotel.
who built houses for the poor, and a folk hero to millions who saw him.
It's
as
called
someone who
La
beat the system.
Cathedral, the cathedral,
contradiction,
an unholy
the monster
place
and the saint,
with a bird's eye view
is
of
why his story
Medellín.
endures.
Devoted
December
to
2nd,
Escobar's
1993,
passions,
on a
for
rooftop
it
in
truly
Medellín,
was his
the most wanted
fiefdom.
man in the world ran out of places to hide. He was 44
That
years
is
old,
thanks to corruption
barefoot, and alone.
and also thanks to
The
fear.
phone call to his
Which
son,
your father
just a few
wielded
seconds
both
too
very
long,
well.
Yeah,
had
he
cost
offered
him
if you want to receive my
found
money,
this
you can
story
take it. If you don't, you're going to
consider
receive
subscribing.
bullets. Choose.
We tell the stories of those who rose to unimaginable power and how they fell.